Okay, here's the first drawer complete. This is the bottom one, and typically you're going to be able to do the same thing right here where this is notched, but there's enough material left there that you can just leave the drawer complete. I would say that is pushing it, but these drawers are pretty strong, and I'm sure it's going to be fine. Now keep in mind that if you're working with one of these, you're probably going to have to do a little bit of work on the drawer just to kind of get it get it right and get it to where it needs to be. So I had to adjust the bottom a little bit. I had to do some nailing, a little bit of gluing back here to strengthen this, and then I just gave it a quick sand on here. And with the sides here, these are poplar, we actually put a coat of the poly on there to help keep them safe. So this drawer is ready to go. Okay, just need the hardware.
That's pretty.
Okay, here's the middle drawer. Now this drawer is a little bit more involved, but we basically just have a square opening here. And it has to be this width. This is about 12 inches wide here to accommodate both the drain and the water lines that come in. So the water lines, in the sink will come up. So we've got to accommodate that. In this case, the drawer is about 16 inches deep, and our opening here is 12 and a quarter. But of course, you'll have to customize that according to your drawer. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use pocket screws on the back here, and on the back here, and on this side. That way they'll be mostly concealed. Now, it is important to mention also the reason I'm running this the whole way across here is for strength. So if we just came up here and made a box across here, it wouldn't have the structural integrity that we really need. It's already compromised by cutting the back out, and so we can recover that by putting it back together this way. So I just wanted to explain that. Okay, so these pieces, the taller ones for the middle drawer, are rough on the one side, so I got to run these across the table saw to make them parallel and get us a good edge on this side. Now, if you haven't seen it, here's how I deal with a very small space. I've got a 52-inch table saw here, and instead of, cramming the area full, I put everything on wheels. So I built this mobile base. Check out the video if you think it might be interesting or useful. But with this big saw, it weighs about 500 pounds, I can roll this whole thing out by myself very easily. It's got locking casters on it, so now I can just lock it into place and ready to cut. now we're ready to assemble this. I'm going to glue these joints, and it would be nice to put the H together before I put it in there, but because of the distance right here, I can't get a drill in there to put those screws in, so I have to put the two sides in and then put this back on. Now, to get an ideal glue joint, we have an even coating of glue across the whole thing. I got this from Rockler. I really like this little silicone brush. It works quite well. It keeps the glue off my fingers, which is fantastic. Now, of course, make sure you select the proper screws for this. Now, in this case, I could use a square to make sure I'm right, but because this is somewhat irregular, I'm actually going to use this piece, get it into place, like so. I'm nice and square with this, just in case there's irregularities here that would throw a square off. So there you can see we got a good tight joint. Get the top in there. Okay. Okay, the middle drawer is complete. I'm very pleased with how this turned out. This thing is actually considerably stronger and more rigid than it was when I started. So we've got a nice U shape in there, so it will fit right around all the water supply lines, but we still preserved as much useful drawer space as we can. These dividers will probably actually be more useful than if we had the full drawer. So it's about, we have about 6 inches here, and it's about a foot wide, so it's a nice little space there. And the sides are big enough to probably put towels in if they're folded correctly. So let's put this one in the cabinet.
Where do the other things go?
You can put all your things in there. Whatever you need.
We need toothbrushes, and the toothbrushes can go right there, and everything go in the one. The two corners in this one, and then it could be in the other row there. It could be fish.
Yep. I'm gonna go work on that one.
Yes.
Okay, here's the last one. So this one will be maybe a little bit more challenging because it's a little bit more unique, but we're going to do this one just pretty much the same way as we did the other one. It's just going to have some different shapes in here. So let's get to it. I've assembled this thing very similar to how I did the other one. Pocket holes here to fasten to the front, and some other recessed screws, some nails, glue. It's kind of overkill, but this will give us plenty of good structural strength there. And in this case, I am going to apply just a little bit of glue to the underside. So now we're ready to do just like we did the other one. Put the pocket hole screws in here, and then we'll recess some screws in some of these other locations, nail it, and do the routing. So we actually have very little flex across there. I made it very rigid. Okay, take the router along the cuts. Okay, my two little helpers are here. So we finished this up. This is quite simple, you know, should be very doable for anyone who wants to do this. Now, we just got to go and pop that in there. I do want to leave you with a couple of comments. So if you'll notice, this obviously is very white wood here. And these sides are actually, well, this side is poplar. I believe the back is poplar as well. And so this is unfinished. And that was as well. And so over time, this is going to turn the same color. So this gives us a fair amount of strength for the drawer. It made it rigid again. However, we managed to preserve drawer space. We can get little stuff in here, and we have the two big sides, and we were able to do that without cutting this drawer in half, which would be another option. You know, you could cut it here, and then you could put a side in here and a side in here, and basically have two drawer compartments that open separately. But because of the style of this particular piece, I didn't want to do that, partly because of the lock, because then I'd have to deal with that. So it worked well to keep these drawers in one piece, and I think that was a good strategy for this one. Okay, there we go. Now we just got to put the hardware on. Okay, here's the finished product. From the front here, it looks exactly like it did when we started. We did redo the top, but we installed the sink, we installed a faucet, and the whole thing got a coat, including the bottom of the case, got a coat of polyurethane, several coats actually. The top we put 5 coats on. The drawers are still 100% functional. So you can see the top drawer there. It goes underneath the sink bowl. And I did a little work on the drawers. These were just basic drawers sliding on wood. And so I tuned them up. I put stops in. Right there you can see the stop. So just kind of the traditional old stop type. The front is for the stop on the drawer front, and the back is for the stop when it comes out, so the kids don't pull these out onto themselves. Here's the second drawer. That one lost the most amount of space. And here's the third drawer. That one was the least amount of work. Really just added the stops and then cut the notch there for the bottom of the P-trap. So there you go. That's pretty much what it takes. I spent a little bit on the tape for the drawer slides, and I spent $15 on a piece of poplar. So other than the, well, and then we probably had some money in the finish. And I didn't show you guys that because it's fairly boring. We literally just sanded it down. We didn't use a stripper or anything. So we sanded it down to the oak and put the clear polyurethane finish on to seal it. Now, a couple of things. We did fasten this thing to the wall, and we caulked it back there, so we're not going to have any water intrusion going down the back. That's very important. You do not want water going back there. Other notes, you know, before we stripped the top, we knew that it was solid oak. You want to know what the construction is, what the wood type is before you start cutting into one of these. Overall, the time for the project, 1 day for roughing it in, and then, you know, it took a process of about, let's see, I think it was about a week to refinish the top, and then about most of a day to do the drawers. So that's how it's done. There could be a lot of variations on this depending on what kind of dresser you start with, but in general the principle is going to be the same. You know, just rough it out and then finish it up, getting those drawers back in place. So good luck with your project. Saving Miller out.